Welcome to another episode of Principles for Success. Today we have a very inspiring guest with us. D, also known as Lil D Porter, is the midday radio personality at K104 here in Dallas. But her journey to success was not an easy one. She shares her incredible story in her book, Route to My Choice to Struggle to Succeed. This book is more than just a diary. It's a testament to her perseverance and tenacity from being evicted and living in a motel and in her car in Cleveland, Ohio. Dee chose to chase her dreams instead of returning to Louisiana. Her story is a powerful reminder that life isn't a sprint, but a marathon. Dee, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for the amazing intro. I feel so special. Okay.
You are special.
I know that's right.
You know what? I would tell you, I always knew you were special, but after reading your book, I mean, you're even more special. I mean, man, you have an amazing story. And I just want to unpack it. But as we get into talking about, before we get into all of your success, let's start out with your journey in Louisiana. Let's start out there. Talk about your childhood and what that was like.
Man, so I was raised by my grandparents. My parents, you want to talk about like knowing the truth early? There was no such thing as beating around the bush in my house. Like the way I found out that my parents weren't my parents is because my birth mother came to the house. And I remember going, Mama, there's some lady at the door. And they literally sat me down and said, this is your mama. We took care of you because she can't. Well, I was 7. Like, what does that mean to a 7-year-old? Like, huh? Yeah. And I mean, then they were like, no, she's on drugs. And so we took you in. I don't know what drugs are. I just like in a 7-year-old's mind, you just know that those are the things like your teacher said were bad, but you don't know. You know what I mean? I didn't know what Santa Claus was. So I went to school because my grandparents are Jehovah's Witnesses. And so when they were talking about Santa Claus at school, I remember coming back home and going, Mommy, is there such thing as Santa Claus? And just as she was opening the blind, just super normal, she went, nah, and just kept going. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go tell my friends. And so I went back to
school. You're going to make them aware.
Oh, I did. Her name was Travion Chapel. I'd never forget I made that girl cry like that. Because I went back to school and I was like, Travion, there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I know there's not because my mom says so and she's never wrong.
She bawled. And the teacher was like, everyone doesn't know, so let's not tell them, okay? Yeah. And I've never been so confused in my life because I was like, but it's a fib. And so my whole childhood is, but I have to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And that mouth of mine has got me in trouble a lot. I started rapping when I was 12. I actually just found this big bin of all my notebooks because you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to go platinum. So I kept all my rap books.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like 12 notebooks. But yeah, I was.
So now that you're older, you could probably go back and refine some of that stuff. And is there a chance?
Unless you're going to write the hook for me. No, I'm straight.
Well, no, you're straight. Because I'm not writing the hook.
But
so let's fast forward a little bit then. I mean, you talked about the mouth getting you in trouble, but this mouth has also led to a great career.
Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to be a rapper, and that's the only way I even got into radio. In the 12th grade, they used to have freestyle contests every Friday. And so I called in and I won 9 weeks straight. And I'm talking like, this is back when you had to actually freestyle.
Wait a minute. You won? Who all were you, the age groups you were competing against?
Grown people. I was 17. It was people like 24, 25. I think I was the only one in high school.
Okay.
And it was always men. I think I might have battled like one girl once.
So I don't think you needed one to write a hook. If you're doing it like that.
That was my former life. No, I don't.
So, but talk about that. 9 weeks straight. You went 9 weeks straight.
And you had to call in, listen to the beat, and like catch the beat. You know, back in my day, freestyling was actually, you didn't write this down. It's off the top of the head. And I'm going against people like battling. And then people had to call the radio to vote for their favorite. Like this was not rigged.
And how many minutes did you have?
It might have been like a 16, I guess, maybe like 60 seconds or so.
60 seconds. You got 60 seconds to give it your best shot.
Yeah, like you got to freestyle. Like there is no, like you just going. And I won. Now
can I give you 60 seconds now?
Hey, my name is Lil D. You got to feel me. That's all I got. It rhymed though.
More like 6 seconds.
But that's how I got into radio though. Like when I got to college, the jock had gotten fired and came back to Shreveport, and he just kept in touch with me because he would call me like, it's the time for you to rap, you know, whatever. And he went, hey, I'm coming back to Shreveport. You want to be on my show? And I went, I guess. Literally.
Wow.
I guess. I thought I was gonna record all my mixtapes in the back of the studio and like go platinum and like make my albums. Radio was just gonna be the way I got there.
Okay. So you're leading me into my segue here because I wanted to know, I mean, when you talk about in your book, all of the things that you go through, when you talking about my choice to struggle to succeed, I mean, the choices that you made and the way that you struggled to get to where you are today, man, I mean, that's some sacrificing. But what were you looking toward at that moment? And now I guess you're alluding to that when you talk about the fact that radio was just going to be the way to get you to your rap career.
Yeah, my whole dream ever since Tupac died when I was a kid, and then I started to research him, my whole dream has always been to be famous so I can help people. Because in my mind, the more people know me, the more people I can help.
Yeah.
I didn't know what like brand or any of that was. I just knew, well, if millions of people know me, I can help millions of people.
Yeah.
Literally.
So where does that desire come from to help people? Because I know that you were talking about that more in just a moment, how your desire is to help good girls become great women. Talk about that more, about where that desire came from to be able to help people.
It was the desire to be helped when I was a kid. When you grow up knowing that your parents aren't your parents, it changes the love you have for yourself when you don't feel that love from them. When you don't grow up feeling like loved and wanted, you seek it from everywhere, and some places are just not conducive to your overall well-being.
Yeah.
And I used to wish I had a big sister or a auntie or a cousin or some kind of someone to go, hey, you are really pretty.
Yeah.
You're so smart. Wow, you got another 4.0. You doing like something. Come to my graduation, come to my play, come to my rehearsal. Be excited because I got first chair in band, like something.
Yeah.
And because I never had it, I used to go out of my way, sometimes to my detriment, to help other people. And so even as a kid, I always just wanted to know, I wanted to help people when I grew up. Like, I'm not going to be like this. I'm going to love everyone. You grow older and you realize you have to kind of protect yourself a little bit. But that's the big desire has always been to be famous so I can help people. Also, the entertainment side of it. When you get to be goofy for a living, you can forget.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, when you rapping on the stage, when you on the radio and you're making other people laugh, it's all about making other people laugh. It's so therapeutic.
Yeah.
I recently went through like a little situation and was dating this guy. We don't date anymore. And so I did a top 5 about it on air.
Yeah.
Top 5 signs he's not into you. Like, because that's how I worked through it.
And that's how you got over the breakup, the heartbreak, or whatever you want to call that.
He didn't break my heart. He hurt my feelings, though.
Okay.
I don't want him to watch this and think give him that much credit.
We will not give him that much credit.
My little feelings was hurt, but I'm all right.
All right, so let's get into your book a little bit more. When you talk about your choice to struggle to succeed, I mean, there's a lot more things you talk about, you being a kid and some of the things that you overcame, but you get incredibly raw in the book. I guess, what was the turning point that made you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to stay in Ohio and continue to pursue my dreams, despite all the many hardships that you describe in the book?
Somebody said something to me recently. He was like, with everything that I've been through, you think this going to hurt me? And it was something like that. It was a split decision moment. It took me no time to go, I'm finna be homeless. You can either go back to Louisiana or you can stay up here. Well, I'm going to stay up here, so let's figure. It was literally just like that. Yeah. Because what was I going to go home to? Working at a call center? Being unhappy? And to me, unhappiness is worse than being broke. Yeah. Unhappiness is worse than not knowing how you're going to pay that light bill. Yeah. Like, to me, I would not have survived. I don't want to go back to the same house I was molested in. I don't want to go back to the same city I was told I should have stayed in because I bet you won't make it. I bet I will. And even with nothing in my pocket, not able to afford $300 rent, all I remember was I bet you won't make it. I didn't even know what making it looked like or meant, but I knew it didn't mean going back home. And
you talk about that in the book, and you talk about that came from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you find out later in life, your parents sometimes project their fears onto you. Yeah. Like, I've never left home. I've never lived anywhere else. This is all I know is this 2-mile radius, and you finna go to a place we don't know anything about. I've never even been on a plane. Like, I don't want you to go, and I don't know how to communicate that to you, so I'm gonna just try to scare you into staying here. I'm thank God it didn't work. And I'm glad that we've grown to a place where she can explain that to me better now. And I can understand it and take it. Growth.
Yeah.
But
when you talk about, finding happiness, even in the struggle at such an early age, I mean, yeah, you can say that today. I mean, you're on the other side of it. You're a lot older. You're a lot more mature. You're even successful now. But at that moment, where did, that sense of happiness come from? I mean, like you talk about, roommating with someone and you wake up and there's a dead mouse next to your bed.
Yeah.
And a cat. And it's like, where do you find happiness in that? That's still better than going back?
Yeah, it was. The only thing that kept me there was that I got to be Lil D.
Yeah.
Being Lil D is really saved Contessa because that was my only sense of pride. It was my only sense of happiness. And if I'd have went back home, I couldn't have done that anymore. I could have for $7 an hour, but that's why I left. What I'm gonna do with that? And so I always told myself, there is no way you came all the way up here just to go home. Like, it's not. It can't be. It's impossible. I had 2 cats. My dad was like, you can come home. Them cats got to stay outside. So, like, I wasn't finna go back home. I couldn't. Like, it was like everything was nothing was going to work in my favor of going back home. I couldn't even afford to get back home. So it was like, where was I going to put my stuff? Where was I going to sleep? They turned my bedroom into a den. Like, nothing said go back to Shreveport, and everything was like, go hard. Like, I remember being in my motel. Every Wednesday I wouldn't eat until Friday. And so Wednesdays were always rough. But in the midst of that, I was working on my website, and I had been teasing it, like, coming soon for like 6 months, every week, coming soon, coming soon. Finally, my best friend called me and he was like, open your computer. And my website was live. And I'm sitting in this motel room with tap water and a half a eaten sandwich. And it's the only food I got left until Friday. But when I went to that computer and I saw my website for the first time, my first www dot, and I'm scrolling like, look at my pictures and it's a menu. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm in a motel knowing I'm not going to eat for 2 days. And that was like the light bulb of, so you don't need money to be happy, because I'm happy right now and I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, life is really about what you make it and what you say it is. And you can think yourself out of a situation.
So is that the moment that made it all worth it? Or was there another moment prior to that?
It was really that. Seeing that I have a website and people are going to it and oh my God, like, I can really do this.
Yeah.
The other moment was Summer Jam. So Cleveland was my first like big city I did radio in, and it was the first time there was a concert with like artists who were popular at the moment.
Yeah.
Like Big Sean was there and he had just came out, and I'm like, these are huge artists. Oh my God, I get to be on the stage with them and I'm hosting. And like, I'm killing it in the crowd, like cares and oh my God, and all of this, right? When I finished, I had to go sleep in my homeboy's couch. He lived in Cleveland, and woke up the next morning and went back to my motel. And it was like the biggest letdown. I was really mean to myself at this point in time. Just, I was like, man, you really just hosted on that big stage, and now you right back in here. Everybody else just went back to a house and had an apartment to go to. What you doing? And I remember stopping myself and going, hey, are you not doing the best you can? And it was like this fight I had with myself, but the positive side won. And it was another light bulb. Like, you really can, like, you don't have to be mean to yourself, because you are doing the best you can. It's okay this is where we are right now. This is not where we're going to wind up.
Yeah.
And then I started to just kind of think more positively.
There you go.
And next thing you know, out of nowhere, because I did not ask her, my aunt sent me $500, and she was like, just get you somewhere to live. She had no idea I had found an apartment. It was $450 a month with a $500 deposit.
Wow.
She had no idea. She just sent me $500, like, don't pay me back. Just find somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
And it was a few weeks of me trying my best to be like, hey, you're doing your best.
Yeah. So you talk about your parents being Jehovah's Witness. What was your faith during this time?
Christian, but not Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
You know, Jehovah's Witnesses are like the most Christians on the spectrum. They some very strict. But when you grow up not celebrating holidays, at least for me, it's like I don't celebrate them now just because I never have.
Yeah.
So, but I was Christian. I was praying really hard and just trying to. Like I wasn't just poor, I was also depressed. And depression will make you stay poor because you tell yourself this is all you deserve. You don't deserve any better than this. So you're here because you deserve to be. Like I wasn't asking for help. I could have ate. I could have asked my friends to buy me food, order me pizza. But I was in my mind, you're supposed to be here because it's just.
And you talk about how one friend out of the blue just orders a pizza for you and sends it to your motel.
God bless my
I was going to say
friends.
hotel, but you
Yeah,
made the
it was
point.
a motel.
You made the point to stress that it was a motel, so we'll stick with that.
Yeah, no.
But you said something, I don't want to go past that because you said something that's very key, I think, to anyone who's going through any situation. It's all about the way that we speak to ourselves. Even when you changed your language out of the blue, here's your aunt now sending you the $500. When you change the way that you speak to yourself, you change the way things come to you. It's that whole law of attraction. I mean, there is some reality to that.
Every day I still say, today is a good day, and that's up to me. It's what I've decided, so it's what'll be. That's literally the first thing I say every morning. Then I pray.
Wow.
The power of positive thinking has changed my life.
Yeah. It really will, man. I want to go to your book again because one of the things I noticed in the book is that every chapter is named after a song, I guess a song or an artist like DMX, Ice Cube, Outkast. Explain the significance and the reason behind that.
With radio and the way I love music, I knew I didn't want to have like regular chapter names. It had to have something that made sense. And so DMX is one of my favorite artists. The first album I ever bought on my own was a DMX tape. Rest in peace, DMX. Yeah. And so I'm like, what makes sense for a radio personality and for people to really understand me? Each of the songs, like if you look them up, the song makes complete sense for the chapter. Yeah. The first chapter is DMX Slipping. And I put a quote from each of the songs. And so the quote was it my fault, something I did? Because the whole chapter is, why is all this bad stuff happening to me? Like, I'm a child. Yeah. Like, what is going on? And so it's just to bring further awareness to the mindset of what I was going through in each chapter.
Okay. I just thought that was very unique.
Thank you. The second book will be something like that, too.
Okay. So you're dropping the hint. Is this an exclusive hint that you're dropping? You hadn't shared it with anyone else? It's being told here first. So when should we expect it to come?
Ooh, whenever I write it, it's gonna be out.
I like that.
Say,
no pressure, huh?
It's hard writing a book when you writing books for other people.
It really is. Trust me. I have one, and it's been a long time, and everybody's asking for the second one, and no.
I know. It's like you put your blood, sweat, and tears. And it's not that you don't have more to tell. It's like you got to sit down and type it and... with all
the other things you have going on in life. But your personality is one that's, I mean, just, man, when we talk about reading the book, I just couldn't help but think about how outgoing and how you light up a room in any room that you go into. But just, one would never know that with all of the things that you have been through. At what point did you decide, I want to sit down and share this part of my life?
So the book is based in 2011. I started writing it in 2017. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I would have different speaking engagements, and I would talk about it. And people will always say, "Oh my God, you need to write a book. You need to write a book about this." And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't know how to do it. I mean, I don't even know how to write a book. And I had a homegirl, and she's like, "You need to write a book." And I'm like, "I don't even know how to write a book." And she's like, "I do. I've written 2.
She's not going to let you off the hook.
At all. She's like, you need to start jotting down notes. And every couple of weeks, she's like, you start on that book yet? So finally, one day, I'm like, I'm just going to type. Whatever. And I wound up typing 6 or 7 pages. And it was all out of order and whatever. But I sent it to her, and she's like, it's okay. Keep typing. Yeah. And then I just took it more seriously. And I finished it after I got to Dallas. It was December 2018. And I closed that laptop and let it out 2019. Yeah. I had remembered one day I was in that motel. It was a Wednesday, so it was the last food I had. I had my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and some water out the sink. And I remember saying, when I make it out of this, it's going to make a dope movie. And so as I was sitting there typing notes, I was like, maybe the book will come before the movie.
Yeah.
So I wrote it.
So what did it do for you? And I guess what did you learn about yourself throughout the process of writing the book?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. No one's ever asked me that. This book was therapeutic. I cried many a nights having to go back to that place to remember those details, to remember like being behind that house with those 4 big boys and having to remember my mom telling me, I bet you won't make it. Even if we're past that point, like, no, we in the book. In the book, we're right here, remembering how my stomach felt, knowing I wasn't going to eat. I can't even get nothing out the vending machine, and the gum is 75 cents. I don't even have that. Like, I'm hungry. But I'm on the radio telling you, like, home of Ricky Smiley and Z1079, win these tickets. And I just feel so worthless. So what it did for me was force me back into therapy, which was an amazing, incredible decision. Shout out to my therapist. Yeah. Thank you. It also helped heal my relationship with my mom. She's never read the book, and I don't want her to. This is going to hurt her feelings. But
there's a lot in there.
Yeah, it is. But we talked about it. Yeah. And when we finally talked about it, she cried, I cried, and we understood each other better. So even without her reading the words, we were forced to have a conversation. And I'm so grateful for that. Then I tell you what I learned about myself. I thought that this book was about me betting on myself and choosing to be homeless because I have a dream. Yeah. This book is about what happens when you don't ask for help. This book is about what happens when you don't love yourself enough to realize you deserve better. My rent was $300, and I missed it for 3 months and got evicted. I could have asked for $300. I could have asked 6 people for $50. I had 6 people who would have given me $50. I didn't say a word. I didn't say anything. Yeah. Because, and it wasn't even pride. I just felt like my life is just always going to be like this. It's supposed to be like this. I'm just going to struggle and whatever. We're supposed to grind. No. I didn't know that it was okay to ask for help and be in a better position. And your friends got you. They don't expect you to pay this back. They just want to make sure you're good. Because I didn't love me enough to want to make sure I was good.
So stay there for a moment. So, because I think that's sort of what we see a lot today with a lot of young people. Is that, and where does that come from? I mean, where do you think it came from you? Because your parents didn't.
It was how I was treated. We knew that our grandparents raised us versus like their birth children. Okay. So I grew up feeling unwanted and feeling like the redheaded stepchild, so to speak. Like I grew up knowing that my parents aren't my parents and they're not gonna come to none of my anything. And if you want to join this sport, you better catch the bus. And I'm an inconvenience. I'm here because my mama left me here. She didn't say, can y'all please take my daughter? She said, I'll be back. And she didn't come back. And they were like, well, guess we'll get some milk. Like, and I knew that. Yeah. And so it was, I never felt like worthy or wanted. By the time anyone told me I was pretty, I didn't believe you. By the time you told me I was great and valued, I didn't think so. And so even as Lil D is doing all these great things in the mirror, it doesn't matter.
So that's why I have the struggle. I mean, even as I was reading it, I'm like, man, I find it difficult to understand because the personality that I see, how is it that you embrace that same mentality and then was able to project in a way that allowed you to be able to struggle so tough, but then succeed so greatly?
Lil D is who Contessa used to wish she could be. And so I think a lot of us in entertainment, we pretend for a living. Okay. Lil D is, you know how they say Instagram is like the highlight portion? Mm-hmm. That's who Lil D is. And so no matter how depressed I am, I get to play the cool part of me for a living. That's 3 hours or 5 hours on air where I don't have to remember that I'm hungry because I get to play the cool part. I get to play this character who has everything going right in their life. Mm-hmm. And it was pretending to be okay for a living is what kept me there. I don't know. I really think something wrong with us a little bit. I
But
really
you
think
did it in such a way.
way.
You did it in such a way that not just allowed you to play a role only on air, because radio is not an easy gig. I mean, folks may think it's easy. It's not an easy gig to do it and do it well, and to matriculate to a market like Dallas, like you have. You did it very well, and it's the things that you did not just on air. You did running websites and in early days of social media for stations, things of that nature. So there was a lot of stuff that you did that you talk about in the book that it just finds it difficult to believe that this was someone who didn't have a sense of self-worth or value to be able to still be able to do it in the way in which you did it.
The only part of myself that I used to value was Lil D.
Okay. And it was Lil D that was performing all those tasks. Okay.
To the point where, just like real quick, I used to, when I had natural hair, before I locked it, the only time I would ever get my hair done was when I had an event coming up. And one day I remember saying to myself, like, why don't you just get your hair done? Because you can get your hair done. Like, it's okay. You deserve to have your hair done too. So
Not
like,
just for an event.
I didn't even realize like how much I valued Lil D over who I really was. And so it was totally okay for me to push through anything to go be Lil D, and the rest of me doesn't matter. She can be a mess as long as Lil D is straight, because Lil D is the only part of you that's worth caring about.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, Lil D. You did move on from Cleveland, Ohio to now come to Dallas-Fort Worth. Top 5 market, a market that many people aspire to get to in radio, television, broadcast, anything you do.
Including me.
Talk about what it's been like being here in Dallas-Fort Worth.
This was the breath of fresh air I needed. I was in Ohio for 10 years. I have no family there. When I moved there, I literally did not know one person. I have great friends there now, but having to get on a plane to go to a funeral, having to get on a plane to hug your cousins, and then you see your friends around you like just going to their auntie house because, you know, their auntie live up the street. It was so depressing. I had an anxiety attack, 3 of them 3 days in a row in Ohio. I didn't know what an anxiety attack was. I just knew I couldn't breathe, and I didn't know why I was upset and hyperventilating and crying, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was losing my mind. Coming back home, half my family lives here, and then the rest is in Shreveport. That's 3-hour difference, you know. My auntie here threw me a welcome home party because that's how much Dallas has been my second home my whole life. And my whole family came. My parents came. Since I've been here, my parents have been to Dallas more than they've ever been in their lives. They are involved. My mama's here now. My happiness, I don't know if it's the sun or the seasoning on the food, but man, I needed to be back in the South around people who love me. It taught me to love myself more. This is the people tell me all the time, like, we miss you in Ohio, but you look so much happier. We just so happy for you.
Wow. Do you think I guess, what do they say? That it's absence bring fondness, I guess. It was the absence of your family there while being in Ohio that made you come back home and appreciate all of this even more?
So I was really trying to get to a top 5 market. And when you in Shreveport, Dallas is the closest biggest city. And so, if you make it to Dallas, you made it.
You're big time.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't even looking for the job that I wound up getting. Vita Loca told me that job was there, and I didn't even know her. I had just hit her up and told her I used to look up to her, and would you listen to my package? But I was trying to make it to New York, LA, Dallas, Houston, Atlanta, somewhere where I could be syndicated. And I just happened to apply for Dallas, and they hired me. I think that being away from them taught all of us to value each other more, because now you don't have access to me. I got to get on a plane and see you once a year, and I'm only going to be here for like 3 days. Like, the first time I can remember my mama hugging me and crying and telling me I love you was in 2013, right before I went back to the airport to go to Cleveland. Like, we were just able to heal so much because we both grew and understood each other more. So, Dallas has been the best decision I've ever made.
And did you have therapy before coming back to Dallas?
Okay. She was all right, but my Dallas therapist is...
So everything changed. So it's more than just the seasoning on the food.
I mean, it's... The sun really does do something for you also, though. Like, I know why everybody up there mean. I get it now. After being back in the sun, like, I came back home and I was like, why is everybody so friendly? Why is this stranger having a conversation with me? And now I just be like, hey, good morning. How you doing? Oh, my God, no, the weather's amazing. The sun changes things. But also, I was able to... the opportunity. Like, I was very poor in Ohio.
Yeah.
You get disgruntled, you doing what you love, but don't nobody love being broke. No. And so it was always tough. I remember one time I got paid from the station, and all it did was cover my overdraft fees. And this is my 2-week check.
Wow.
Like, I was miserable.
So would you say that's the most difficult time you've ever had? Was that time you spent there in Ohio?
2015 was the hardest year of my life. I had just got to Columbus, Ohio. My biological father died a couple weeks after that. I couldn't go to the funeral because they didn't even tell me until after they buried him. One of my cousins who lives here, he died in May. 2 of my uncles died in June and July. And then my grandma died in December. And that was the most devastating thing that has ever happened. And so the whole year was just one after another, and it's mentally draining and exhausting, and it just, all of the depression culminated, and it just got so bad. But that was the roughest year of my life. I started running after that because I was losing my mind. I just needed something to do. Running's helped a lot, but
that's what I was going to ask you. How'd you overcome it? I mean, what allowed you? Okay.
I just went outside. I needed air. That's why I think being in the South helped, because, there it's cold.
Yeah.
But like here, most of the time you can go outside. But I just needed air. And so I went outside and I just started walking. And I would, I had no jobs. I'm walking for hours and hours, just walking. And then I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to start jogging. And I trained and ran a half marathon.
There you are.
When you run, it's just you and yourself.
Yeah.
And so you can either tell yourself, I'm tired, we can't do this. Or you can tell yourself, no, make sure your chin is up and let's go. You got this. One more mile. Like, it's,
So all those things you were telling other people on the radio, you began to tell yourself. And that allowed you to get through the run.
You better put it together. I know that's right. Yeah. You better be a host out here.
Yeah. I figured that's what you were doing.
Yeah, but it's just a million. It's, man, the power of positive thinking.
So let's talk about this outside of your career. I mean, because to think about, and I encourage you to get the book. I mean, I don't want to just unpack the book all the way and give you everything in the book, but you really have to get the book because she really does open up herself, and she's extremely transparent and shares a whole lot of detail that you can help to understand, maybe if there's something you're going through, how to get through it and overcome it. But D, I want to go back to talking about outside of radio, because we've talked a lot about radio, but there's more to you than radio. Outside of radio, what do you do?
Oh man. Okay. So, I'm an author for other people, ghostwriter, co-writer, also like copy editor, any kind of verbiage you need. I handle that.
Social media manager.
Okay, what am I right now? I'm a social media manager as well. Anything from concept to caption and anything in between, whether it's just conceptualizing your ideas, advising you down to shooting the content. We do all of that and everything in between. I'm also an event host for everything, club. I'm not doing no club 12 for that, but baby showers, funerals, bar mitzvahs, wedding receptions, networking events, all of those. Working on my second book. Is going to be out whenever I write it. What else? I think that's all I do.
That's enough.
It is. I just got a new ghostwriting client. Like, I am extremely grateful.
So in between their book and your personal book, yeah, that's a lot. That's enough to keep you busy for the summer.
And I sleep sometimes.
Yeah, that's overrated sometimes. One of the rappers said that.
Yeah, I bet. He was half sleep when he was sleep deprived when he said it. I love sleep.
So let's talk. Was there a specific moment or event in your life that defined who you are today?
Yeah.
And share that with us.
When I got to Toledo doing radio, I still thought I was going to be a rapper. Like, I was just moving because I was broke.
And how old are you at this time?
22.
Okay.
And so, I'm just like, this is part of the journey. I have a journal, I swear, and it's called How I Became a Rapper. And I wrote everything in it because in my mind, I'm going to be a rapper. MTV going to do my story. So, okay, when I'm in Toledo, I'm not, like, radio is just the thing I'm doing. I'm trying to be a rapper.
Yeah.
I'm not taking it seriously, like, whatever. Until this lady came up to me, and I'll never forget, she was like, my daughter really looks up to you. She's dark-skinned, and she has natural hair. And I was like, people look up to me? And it changed everything. It's the reason why I stopped getting perms. It's the reason why I don't wear wigs. It's the that changed everything because I was like, there's some girl who looks like me, who was me as a kid, who is looking at me and I'm supposed to be better for her. I gotta show her like it's cool to be dark skinned. Like I grew up hearing you cute to be dark, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta show her like, no, you just cute. Like, oh my God, I gotta get me together because if she's looking up to me, what if it's more than just her?
Yeah.
And I'm 22 with no self-esteem. Like I have a responsibility. And I didn't realize like talking into a microphone could do that. Like, what? I'm a role model? And then I remember, isn't that what you wanted to be when you grew up? And so it shaped me. Like when I got to Cleveland, it was the first time I saw like people were like, you got to have a pair of heels in the car. Always have your makeup bag with you. And I'm like, what? My who? Huh? And I remember texting Charlamagne and I was like, I just went to this event and all the girls had makeup on and they had weaves. And I showed up with an afro and some Chuck Taylors. And he was like, why fit in when you would stand up?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I went back to that little girl who looked up to me with the natural hair. And I'm like, you're right. Let me keep this fro. Through all the colorism and people said horrible things about me and my hair and my complexion. And I couldn't stray from who I was because what if it's more than just that one little girl looking up to me?
Yeah. You embraced that so much, you actually started an organization. And again, we're going back to this helping good girls become great women. Talk about that and why that was, well, you've, I guess, alluded to the fact of why it was important to you.
Yeah, so I was in Cleveland and I needed a thing, right? Everybody had like a thing. If it was breast cancer or this thing, everybody had a thing. And I'm like, well, they just be posting it on Instagram. Like, I actually want to do something I care about. Yeah. What do I care about? And so I started the organization, You Go Girl. Girl's an acronym for grinding in real life, where the mission is to help good girls become great women. And we have a bunch of different things to do throughout the year to help accomplish that. Yeah. The most notable, my favorite, COVID halted it, but we're bringing it back finally. Oh, I'm so glad. It's called 12 Days of Christmas. I didn't grow up celebrating Christmas. And so to me, Christmas gifts is not something that I'm finna do. Christmas. And so I didn't grow up celebrating Christmas. And so like presents wasn't really something I was going to do. But I'm like, what gift can I give you in December? I'm going to give you the gift of your future. And so we take 12 girls and they get to shadow a woman in their desired career field and basically like live their dreams for a day. If you want to be a teacher, you're grading papers. We've had girls who want to be a nurse and you were at the hospital like taking blood pressure. Wow. We film it, turn it into a mini series. And then at the end, all the girls get a president pamper party where they get their hair and nails done. They get gifts. We have food. There's music and you get headshots.
Wow.
And I am so incredibly proud of it. Like the professionals, the women are like, you do this? Oh my God, I would love to be a part of it. Like I've never had an issue at all.
Yeah.
And it's so just, there was a girl who wanted to be a medical examiner and thank you God, the medical examiner was female. We got to go to the morgue. Now, mind you, I'm there and I'm like, oh, this is disgusting. But how cool is this for this 16-year-old who wants to do this and she gets to see it? I had a girl here from South Dallas who wants to be an engineer and we went to Microsoft. She didn't just see one black girl who drove a Mercedes and was only 26. She saw 17 of them.
Yeah.
Like, no, yeah, I got a Lexus. Yeah, I just got an Infiniti. Yeah, I just bought a new Audi.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm not really good at computers at all. But you work at Microsoft. Exactly. Like seeing them and their eyes open and them realizing like, this is really my career. I can do this for real. Oh, it's the greatest thing I do in my life.
That's why you went through the struggle.
Oh, I swear.
To be able to do all these things to help people, just like you talked about.
People just are like you're so humble. And I'm like, if you know what I've been through, I couldn't be arrogant.
Yeah.
I could never. Because there's somebody right now going through what I already been through. And I need to make sure they know you can make it through it. You're going to be all right.
I mean, you're always one step ahead. And that's exactly where I was getting ready to go, is we're ready to close it out. I mean, our show is primarily, listeners are primarily entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So to that person who's probably struggling with their business right now or going through an issue or something of that nature and just making, man, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. I mean, for someone who's gone through so much and we haven't even talked about all of your awards and accolades and things that you've won being on the air here in Dallas, but there are a number. And they can go and follow you on social media and see all of that.
They can add Lil D on air.
How you've been featured in a number of publications. Share with someone that may be going through a struggle or issue right now how they can.
I'm glad you said how, because I remember I have a friend named Swoop, and I told him, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And he said, the how don't matter. Just know that you will. And it is so true. Even when you plan out for your life, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get this, and then A, B, and C is going to happen. You might get to C, but the A and B was completely different because the how don't matter. If you have sheer belief that you will, just know that you will, because that means that you're always going to operate in, well, I will. And so you don't get caught up on the anxiety of every step along the way. The how is what gives life seasoning. So just enjoy it and make some lemonade to wash it down.
You like talking about that seasoning.
I'm so glad to be back around some Tony Satcheries. You don't understand.
And we opened the whole thing talking about, the fact that life is not a sprint, but it's a marathon. You actually live by that mantra and operate from
I do. I really do. One of my bosses once told me, you're not going to be that one that like shoots up right to the top. You're going to get there and it's going to be slow and you're going to enjoy it. And I resented him when he said that, because why can't I get there fast? But when you grow, at least for me, I'm going to appreciate it. I'm in a place now where I'm charging more than my rent used to be in other cities just to host an event. And I don't say that like bragging. I say that like self. Do you see what self? My car note was the rent I got evicted for. Like self, the how don't matter. Just know that you will and operate in the space of you already are.
On that note, we'll end it. Lil D. Be sure to look her up at Lil D on air. On all social media platforms.
All of them.
Website?
alldabove.com. DEE.net.
Be sure to get the book. You'll enjoy it. Until the next time, take care of yourself.